Yo, it is Monday, last day of February, the 28th. I'm finally back in the studio. I missed you all so much. Kyle, Danielle, I don't know if they missed me as much, but regardless, we have a lot to talk about this morning. Let's get into it and go.
Everywhere I go, the people really want to know who I is and who I be. They stop.
All right. Monday. Oh, I think we need to open the show with something that's kind of a first for us. Actually, I don't think it's a first, but it's close. We have some fan art.
This is amazing, by the way.
All right, Rob Angus, we have to give you a major shout out because this started our Monday off the right way. Danielle, throw the fan art up. This is a picture of Kyle and myself on our way to Las Vegas in the Asodu, like souped up Range Rover or whatever that thing is.
So epic. We need some level of like yellow. If someone can rent us some level of like yellow Hummer for in Vegas, just so we can recreate this. We need love
a bullhorn. If you're just listening on the podcast, it is an amazing piece of art. Map of the United States. This big, like, kind of yellow Hummer Range Rover busting out. Kyle and I are in it. Kyle's got a bullhorn in his hand, and you see the little Las Vegas side and the side. This is good stuff. This is the quality that you should expect with Automotive State of the Union. Thank you so much.
Now I have to roll up into like right into the show with a bullhorn, like, excuse me. Excuse me.
We're gonna get kicked out so early. We have to at least not get kicked out on the first day.
Just like at least the second day, right?
If you don't know, we are rolling with the crew that keeps getting bigger every week. Right. So it was like, we're gonna go with 4 people. No, we're gonna go with 6 people. Actually, now we're gonna go with 7 people, and we're probably gonna have somebody at home running live streams and producing. So I don't know what exactly is going to happen, but if you can't be at NADA, you should definitely make sure you're signed up on the email list at asodu.com. Sign up for the emails and like and follow and subscribe to the social channels, because we are going to try to make it our best effort. If you can't be there, we want you to feel like you were there, because that's one of the things that we are really passionate about, making sure that we draw a big circle around the entire industry, not just the small percentage that get to go to NADA.
30,000 people is not the entire industry.
It's not a few people, but not even close. Not even close. We estimate, we were crunching some numbers a couple weeks ago, and we estimate there are 2.5 million people in the greater automotive industry, retail automotive dealership world, that need to be paying attention to a narrative, that need to understand, at least on a cursory level, what's going on, what it is to be a retailer, what's going on in culture and crypto and F&I and sales and global supply. Like, everybody needs to know, right? Even, what was it? Philo, right?
Yep.
Trying to teach the service advisors what Philo is. Why? Yeah. Because if your dealership's on Philo, you should know. Exactly. That might be why your owner's a little grumpy.
LIFO, by the way.
Philo. Oh yeah, first and last out. Oh, that's kind of our life as entrepreneurs.
Right. Philo is us. LIFO is accounting.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I can't wait. I didn't get to catch up on the episodes. I heard that I got made fun of a little bit, which is fine with me.
Just a wee bit. It's okay though. It's okay. We had to. Michael Cirillo was sitting there, and you're showing him off this like rental house in Waco, Texas, nonetheless, right? Which you got to go to last week. You were with some dealers last week. I'd love to hear a little bit more about like how that was, and with Glenn Lundy and the 800% Club, and just how the energy was around there. And then you got to head to Waco. So how was it last week? It seemed like a fun trip, at least from a little bit of the Instagram that I could follow.
Yeah, I didn't post too much. That's how you know, like, I'm really out. Like, I'm not anywhere on my social media. Like, I literally try to keep my phone away from myself, because it's just, there's too many things going on. So I was invited to speak at Glenn Lundy's 800 Club Elite QDS quarterly events. So got to go out and speak with a bunch of great people on culture. Company culture was the term. So he had about 30 dealers from all across the country in a small venue in Dallas. And we talked about company culture, and every speaker, the theme was still culture. And the big takeaway, well, I have a couple big takeaways. Number one is that there are dealers everywhere that we've never heard about, that are great leaders, that are caring employers, that are good retailers, and that are committed to getting better, right?
Yes.
And it's always inspiring to see, like, oh, there's all these people I've never met before that are committed to the same fight that we're so we found some of the others. Secondly,
I love that. Like, don't if you're in the automotive industry and you're listening to this, or you're a part of Automotive State of the Union, and you're thinking, I'm out here on an island, just know, I mean, Michael Cirillo last week was saying, hey, I recognize I'm not on an island, right? We met someone back at Digital Dealer that said, whoa, there's other people that think like me. Just know there are others doing the same thing in other regions of this country, of this world, that are pushing back in the same way that you are, against market forces, against, poor culture and all that. So
bring them into
don't
the
lose
fold.
sight of that.
Bring them into the fold, right? Because the lights have come on to so many people that when we've met them or they've seen some content, they were like, I had no idea, right? You're about to have an idea, right? And you're a part of sharing that and making sure they know that, hey, this is where our people are. So the dealers that are in this room, the big takeaway, and it was a common theme from, like what I talked about, Liza Borches was there, A-Flow was there, but just a bunch of great speakers and people that know what it's like to be in the trenches of culture. Talked about the fact that it's not easy, and setting a high bar for yourself is what we should do, even though you're not going to hit it all the time. And culture is one in the incremental, inch at a time fight. You can't just plop a vision or mission statement on there and expect everybody to live it. Absolutely
there
not.
It is.
And that was a common theme. So, my goal is always that people remember one thing and go home with one thing when I talk, because I know they're going to forget 98 to 99% of what I say. And that's the one thing I wanted them to remember, that it's an inch at a time. So move forward an inch today, just an inch.
It's interesting when you talk about you can't just drop a mission or vision, or drop we want good culture into a room and hope that it happens. Right. I'm not going to remember the book or the person that shared it or anything like that, but the concept remains. A few months back, I was perusing LinkedIn and someone screenshot a book that they were reading. And essentially the idea was the volume of communication that happens in a day for a typical employee, between social media sites, emails, things like that, that there are thousands of elements a day that they're getting communicated, whether that be through marketing messages or employee messages, internal type stuff. And they're just getting communicated all these things. And yet we think that one summit or one monthly meeting or one time can clearly communicate the culture we desire, the mission and vision and values. It's no, it actually has to lead every single meeting, every single thing for years on end, until it is completely sunk into the environment and the culture of a store. And so when you think about that inch by inch, you don't get to a mile by going 3 inches first and then leapfrogging to a mile. You have to continue doing all of the inches, right? And it takes time.
Well, speaking of culture,
stop. Segue
time.
I see you. Welcome back to Segue time.
Did we have? I was going to say, do we have Segue time?
Oh yeah. Oh, we crushed Segue time last week. Come on now.
Go back and listen. I know there are a lot of people leaving comments that I was just focused on the show and not using comments. So here we're going to throw a couple up. No, Michael Cirillo is not here today. Michael, you have a fan. We don't know if that vehicle is a Hummer or an EV. Todd Smith's telling us if we can't get a Hummer, yellow suits, doubt that's going to happen. Reformed Viking is go Dumb and Dumber style. I'm going to slap Kyle on the back of the legs with my baton. If you're going to fail forward for sure. And when you're finally sick of talking about your vision, people are starting to hear it and get it. Yes, when you're sick of it, people are starting to get it. So I took my family out to Waco, Texas after the speaking event in Dallas, brought my mother-in-law, we rolled heavy. All of us going down to Waco, Texas. And I got to Waco and I realized Waco is not what you see on TV.
That ain't
right.
fancy.
I shouldn't be surprised, right? Movie magic. I was I told my wife and my mother-in-law were oh my gosh, I can't believe it looks so different in Waco than what you see on TV. I said, there's a lot of money to be made in knowing which direction to point the camera. Right. Exactly. So we stayed in one of Chip and Joanna Gaines' Fixer-Upper, the Magnolia Empire. Now they have their own network. And we went down to the Silos, which is a little 2-block square thing down in the center of Waco. And they also have several properties that they've renovated that you can actually stay in. We stayed in one of their properties and they have a diner. We have, I think, one of the best examples of how you don't need to listen to all the other reasons why you can't do it if you want to build a brand. They've built a brand over a number of years. And I know that for dealers, it's Chip and Joanna Gaines. I want to remind everyone in this industry that brand connection is something that you have control of. You have control of cultivating it. And it doesn't matter how far people have to drive to your dealership. It doesn't matter how many times you say, oh, well, it's automotive. You don't understand. I was in the middle of Waco, Texas, in a place where if you just turn around, you're like, wow, this is not, this is not like the nicest area. I would never fly across the country to come here, right? The people in Waco, amazing, by the way. But this 2-block radius where the silos were, the diner that had a 3-hour wait, the house that I stayed in, every single thing was in order and made me feel like magic. Really, it was like Disney magic in the center of Waco. Every person I talked to was amazing. They embodied the brand. They were excited for me that I was a part of it now. They were asking me about my experience. They were surprised and delighting me. And so if you tell me, well, I can't find these magic Disney employees, I'm in Waco. Bull crap.
No, absolutely not. And not just that, but like there's an element to creating such an environment that the employees kind of step up, that people just like by nature start to step up, because people desire that. I think, like, you think about how many people double tap on all the culture stuff on Facebook and Instagram. It's like everybody desires that, but nobody's drawn it out of them, right?
And then they walk out of the office and they don't live it, or they feel like they can't because of everyone else, right? And you make excuses. Well, everyone else doesn't do it.
Yep.
It's not an excuse.
It's not an excuse. And I think that's a huge call to dealers. It's a huge call to any business owner or, business person. Doesn't matter if you're an owner or an employee, that no matter where you're at, you can create a brand and a culture worth following, worth being a part of. And doing that takes a lot of intentionality, right? But it's well worth it in the end. And I think that just leads right into, I don't know if it's a segue, but the intentionality around what we're seeing. I mean, I couldn't get away from LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or anywhere without seeing some sort of post about the president of Ukraine, whose name I just simply can't say.
Vladimir Zelensky.
You got it. Nailed it. Right. But this guy over the past 4 to 5 days has like put on a clinic on leadership. I mean, from selfie videos in the middle of war-torn Ukraine to telling the US, like, no, I don't need a ride, I need ammunition. He's literally rallied around the world around not just his leadership, but also his brand. And you said, we were kind of talking about this beforehand, but I think it was Danielle was like, wait, wasn't he a comedian to start or something like that in entertainment? It's like, yes, absolutely, he was. And the reason why he's so good at the leadership at this point is not just because of like, there's some story behind him. And obviously he has a different leadership capacity, but he's also just purely a communicator, right? Yeah.
Oh,
this
yeah,
guy's willing to yeah, he gets people. He's willing to get on selfies.
A comedian too, right?
Yeah.
One of the most listened to people in the country is just a comedian, right? But is very much a part of the cultural and political and, conversation at large. If you didn't know, so the president of Ukraine, his grandfather had 3 brothers. So there were 4 brothers. 3 of them died in concentration camps. 1 brother got out. That 1 brother had a son. His son had a son, which is grandson. And now his grandson is the president of Ukraine fighting against an invasion, right? And front and center. And it's so interesting, right? And he is a screenwriter. He wrote and produced a movie about him being president of Ukraine. They actually turned that fictional political party into a real political party. He got 73% of the popular vote to be the president of Ukraine. And now he's like strapped up being like, I might die here, but this is definitely where I'm going to die if I do. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. So
this is I'm going to give you like my so my wife and I know that we're going to live on this for a second, but my wife and I like Dancing with the Stars. There's one of the dancers, his name is Max, and he has his wife Peta. They're both dancers on there, but he was in the Ukraine filming the Ukraine's version of Dancing with the Stars, and has like an easy ticket out, right? Is now an American citizen. Like they live here full time, has an easy ticket out. And over the past 4 days, he has said, like, because of the actions of this president, I'm hanging in here. Like, I'm calling people to arms. I'm calling people to support. We're providing a network. They're literally providing a network of housing for dancers across like multiple countries to make sure that they can have places to stay. Like, absolutely insane. So brand like transferred to brand, and now there's more people doing that.
It's, it's none of this talking about this is like to make light of the situation, to not express our concern and prayers and all of the the just broken heart over the disaster and the tragedy of the loss of human life, and like families being torn apart. And, you know, we're like all of you out there too, like really hoping and praying for the best outcome from this point forward. But I think it's really important to show that like brand and business and communication and real life grit are all connected, right? It's all the human element. It is all connected to why you went to work this morning, why you've tuned into this podcast or this live stream or read some of the content. There are things that connect us, and it's a lot deeper than just selling a car or getting an F&I contract signed. It's so much deeper than that. And I think these are the moments where we remember, like, this isn't just what we do, right? This is who we are. And so I think to bring all that together, it's the truth. I know we didn't get to a lot of news today. I know we're running a little bit over, but I have a little making up to do. We got some great articles in the show notes and in the podcast notes. So if you want to go in, we're talking a little bit about Tesla, a little bit about, you know, their cyber attack that happened. We're talking about global impact potentially from the SWIFT sanctions that are going on. We have a lot of announcements. We have a lot of stuff coming this way. We're rolling up to NADA hot. We'll tell you more about what that looks like. Thank you for tuning in. Sign up on the email list. You don't want to miss what's going to go on, but it's only Monday. We have a whole week to go. Let's do it.